On top of everything else there is to do, including learning where the notes are on your guitar, learning how to read them well, learning how to put songs together, learning songs themselves, mastering chords and patterns and scales. Another aspect that takes untold amount of work is mastering your rhythms and knowing what the note values are and getting good at duplicating them. Along the way, we've learned that in 4/4 music, the top four, which I'll call the numerator, even though it's not exactly the same as a fraction, it functions very similarly, tells us that there are 4 beats per measure. Your music is measured out. Instead of inches, it uses bars. So we call it a bar or a measure. The second 4 underneath that is the denominator, and it works well if we say it like a fraction, 4/4. That means we're counting 4 beats in a bar. There are 4 quarter notes in the bar, or their equivalent. So the result is that the bottom 4 tells you you're counting quarter notes as a beat. With that being our default at first, we all presume that quarter notes always get the beat, but we can change that by changing this denominator. If we said that this was 4/2, then half notes would get the beat. In our standard note reading, where quarter notes get the beat, the whole note, the circle without a stem, gets all 4 beats. You'd hit it and count to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Half notes divide the whole note in half. The whole note gets the whole bar, 4 beats. The half note gets half a bar, 2 beats. So you count to 2 on each. Because the bar gets 4 beats, you don't count 1, 2, 1, 2. You count to 4, but hold the half notes for 2 of each. 1, 2, 3, 4. The quarter note gets 1 beat apiece. So you count to 4 in a bar. You don't count 1, 1, 1, 1. You count 1, 2, 3, 4, and strike a quarter note on each one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Eighth notes, either with the little flag or the beam, get half a beat. There's 2 of them per quarter note, 8 of them for a measure. Thus their name, eighth notes. They get half the beat each, so if you're counting quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, we subdivide that into half, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, for our eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. You can count your music any way you like. If you saw a lot of quarter notes and some eighth notes, you could count the quarters as 1, 2, 3, 4, and the eighths as the ands. So you could go 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4, where only the eighths you count as ands. Or to keep a little more consistency, even when you're only on quarters, you could count the ands as well. I'll go slower so you can hear what I'm doing. First I'll do a bar of quarter notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, now the eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. The count is the same, the difference is that I'm striking the note on the ands in the eighth notes. That subdivision can help you keep control of your music a little bit better and not rush or slow down on eighth notes. So you wouldn't be counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. You'd set up the same subdivision as you do your quarter notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So there are 2 eighth notes in a quarter note. Eighth notes get half a beat. The quarter note is that beat. 16th notes look like eighth notes with 2 beams or 2 flags. Now there's 4 of them in the quarter note. So they're half the length of an eighth note, or there are twice as many of them in a beat or in a bar. If there's 4 beats in a bar and 4 sixteenths in a beat, there are 16 of them in the bar, hence their name 16th notes. They're twice as fast as eighth notes. Where eighth notes were on the ands, 1 and 2 and, we'd have to get 2 sixteenths in the space of each of those. 1 and 2 and. We give them each their own syllable. 1 E and a 2 E and a. These are sixteenths. 1 E and a 2 E and. The eighths are 1 and 2 and. Sixteenths, 1 E and a 2 E and a. Quarters, 1, 2, 3, 4. Eighths, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Sixteenths, 3 E and a 4 E and a. Just as we said that on quarter notes, we can count just the single beats, or we could incorporate the ands that we're counting in our eighth notes. So although I'm striking quarters, I could say 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. You might even want to get used to using all of the syllables, 1 e and a, while you're counting eighths and quarters. So quarters could be 1 e and a, 2 e and a, but we're not striking each. 1 e and a, 2 e and a, 3 e and a, 4 e and a. On the number and the and, we could play our eighths. 1 e and a, 2 e and a, 3 e and a, 4 e and a, 1 e and a, 2 e and a, 3 e and a, 4 e and a, 1 e and a, 2 e and a, 3 e and a, 4 e and a, 1 e and a, 2 e and a, 3 e and a, 4 e and a. I never did that myself. It seems to me, though, at this point, that it would probably be a great idea to start teaching yourself that kind of subdivision. If your quarters are really fast, like in Give My Regards to Broadway, da 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 da, there's no way you're going to be counting 1 and a, 2 and a, 3 and a in there. But when the music's a little bit slower, especially funk music that divides into sixteenths, 1 e and a, 2 e and a, 3 e and a, 4 e and a, 1 e and a, 2 e and a, 3 e and a, 4. You could actually count the 1 e and a's even if you're not playing them. 1 e and a, 2 e and a, 3 e and a, 4 e and a, 1 e and a, 2 e and a, 3 e and a, 4 e and a. As I said before, when we divided to eighth notes, you should write a whole page of rhythms. You should have a line of quarter notes, a line of eighth notes, a line of sixteenths, a line where you mix them up. 2 quarters and 4 eighths. Repeating that bar over and over and over. 6 eighth notes and a quarter note, repeating that bar over and over and over for an entire line, reading it as well as playing it, getting used to how it sounds, getting it in your ear, but also being able to see it. At some point I'm going to draw one of those on here, but this is just a teaching exercise right now. So here are your sixteenths, all 4 of them per beat, 16th per bar, 1 e and a, 2 e and a, 3 e and a, 4 e and a. Grouped in 4s, 1 beat each with a double beam. And here I'm incorporating eighths and sixteenths. So this eighth, the first one, actually accounts for the subdivision 1e. So we could put an eighth note in here with a single beam, getting 1e. The next half of the beat, the eighth on the and, subdivided into and-a, and I play sixteenths. Rather than playing each of these, I'll play one of them over and over again. So here's 1e and a, 2e and a, 3e and a, 4e and a, 8th, 16th, 8th, 16th, 8th, 16th. Again, you could have a whole row of that. Here I've moved the eighth to the second half of the beat. So the first 2 sixteenths are played, 1e. When I get to the and, I'm not going to play the as a 16th, I'll hold the and as the 8th. So this is 2e and or 1e and 2e and 3e and Notice in the 16ths I'm not playing the last because it's an 8th note now. 1e and 2e and 3e and 4e and I'll alternate these two. 1e and 2e and 1e and 2e and 1e and 2e and This one's a little bit tricky. You see my little double beam on the first? That means it's a 16th. So I must be playing on the E of that beat, but it's an 8th note, so it gets 2 of these. The E and the and, leaving me an at the end. So I've got 16th, 8th, slightly longer, and then a 16th again. 3E and 3E and or 1E and Putting that right next to the next beat so I know I'm coming down on it, I would go 1E and 2. Now I'll string a bunch of them together. 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and 1E and 2E and so on. Notice now if I'm subdividing vocally, I can hear myself say the portion of the beat that I'm not playing on. 1E and 2E and My final rhythm this time around is a dotted 8th note and then a 16th. When you dot a note, you add 1/2 of its value. So an 8th note is half a beat. If I dot an 8th note, it's 3/4 of a beat, or 3/16, leaving me one little stubby 16th at the end on the So this would have, an eighth note would have gotten the 4E with the next half of the beat, the and ah, but with the dot, it's absorbing the and. So it's 4E and then the ah. That one beat that I wrote, 4E and ah, 4E and ah. I'll put a beat right behind it so you can hear how short the ah is. 4E and ah, 1. 4E, 4E and ah, 1. Now I'll string a bunch of them together. 1E and a, 2E and a, 3E and a, 4E and, or I'll move my hand for every 16th. 1E and a, 2E and a, 3E and a, 4E and a, 1E and a, 2E and a, 3E and a, 4E and a, 1E and a, 2E and a. Your arm can often become your timekeeper. You'll see people bouncing their hand to the beat even when they're not playing. In that little exercise I did, just grabbing this minor chord and pretending I'm playing a funk tune, you actually will strike the guitar on all of the E andas, but it's muted. And then when you want to sound the note, you just press the chord down. I'll play these all with that pattern. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and so on. That can become your timekeeper. Practice pressing the chord when you want to hear it. That's neither here nor there right now. That's a little advanced. Right now, just practice writing out and counting 16th notes to add them to your repertoire. If you don't feel like 16ths are up your alley just yet, stop at the 8ths and work on them for a while. But see if you can start incorporating the 1E and a counting into your 8ths and possibly even into your quarters so that you can start that subdivision process. If you've been playing guitar for a year or more, this is going to be something you need to know already. If you're just starting, you can just pass on it for now. If you're one of the ukulele students on your 4th lesson, maybe get good at the quarter notes, and that's far enough for you for now. All right, we'll leave her there. Talk to you guys later. Bye.